With NFL free agency just over 3 weeks away, trade season is here for the NFL. And ESPN's Bill Barnwell put out an article today talking about the Giants and Kayvon Thibodeaux and says they should trade Kayvon Thibodeaux to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2026 fourth-round pick. I'll share my thoughts coming up in a second. But first, I want to hear from you. If you were the Giants, would you make this trade? Type A for accept, D for decline. This is New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green, and I just want to let you know this will not be the last time we talk about a Kayvon Thibodeaux trade this offseason. All signs point to the New York Giants not getting a contract extension done with Thibodeaux this offseason, and I believe that is the right move. There just hasn't been enough production from the number 5 overall pick, and you put on top of that all the games he has missed due to injury. I'm not sure an extension is going to get done. I'm also not sure that the Giants should trade Kayvon Thibodeaux prior to the season. I think there's some things they're going to have to figure out, like if they want Thibodeaux to be a part of this organization going into the future. And I actually thought Bill Barnwell brought up some good ideas, but this trade, I'm not so sure. Barnwell wrote this: "It's difficult to see Thibodeaux having much of a future in New York. The Giants signed Brian Burns to a long-term contract and just used the 3rd overall pick on Abdul Carter, who posted massive pressure rates in his debut season. Thibodeaux will be an unrestricted free agent after the 2026 season. He's coming off a 2.5 sack, 10 knockdown year, and was limited to 10 games because of a shoulder injury. The Giants can afford Kayvon Thibodeaux's $14.8 million salary in 2026, but it's probably not the ideal use of their cash. They could keep Thibodeaux and hope to land a compensatory pick in 2027, but they are likely to be active in free agency, which would make it more likely that Thibodeaux wouldn't earn them a draft pick after leaving. Landing a guaranteed pick now and freeing up money to address the O-line and secondary might be a reasonable alternative for Giants general manager Joe Schoen, if it is still Joe Schoen making the decision. Or is it Don Aponte? Or is it John Harbaugh? I don't know. I would say this to whoever is making the decisions. A 4th-round pick in return for Kayvon Thibodeaux exiting just feels a little bit low. Like, I kind of just think about it like this, and I think Bill Barnwell brought it up, and maybe he's right. The New York Giants will be super active in the free agency of 2027, and that will kind of cancel out the comp pick formula. But if Kayvon Thibodeaux is on your team this year and then leaves in free agency this time next year, you might just get a 4th-round comp pick, or at least you would add some serious weight on this side of the scale when it comes to that comp pick formula. You have to remember, when Harbaugh was with the Ravens, they took comp picks very seriously, and I would kind of just expect for him to carry that over with the New York Giants. I do think Kayvon will be shopped this offseason. And if you don't want to say, Marshall, I don't think they're going to look to trade him, they are absolutely going to answer calls on teams calling the phone and saying, what would it cost for Thibodeaux? And I think it would be dumb for the New York Giants not to listen. Look, I like Kayvon. I appreciate the way that he has embraced the New York Giants. But the facts are the facts. 8 sacks over his last 22 games is just not good enough. I don't think he is a bust, but I definitely would not repick him number 5 overall in a redraft. I think he is a solid player, but a little bit underwhelming. On top of the fact that the sack numbers haven't gotten higher than 5.5 outside of his 2nd season, which I think we all know at this point was a little bit of fool's gold in those numbers, he's missed significant time every single season except one. But on the other side of that coin, I actually thought Kayvon Thibodeaux got better this year. I thought he set the edge much better in the run game. I saw some new moves in his pass rush bag. He played with a lot more power, and he looked motivated because he knows, like Bill Barnwell knows, that the Giants drafted his replacement, number 3, last year, in Abdul Carter. I think Kayvon got better. But the question is, did he get better enough to where the Giants have to keep him here? They have to sign him to an extension, and they cannot listen to trade offers. I would say the answer to that is no. I do think Kayvon can continue to get better. I'm just not so sure that he is ever going to be a major pass rush production type of player. You see the Pro Football Focus grades throughout his career. Some get better, while some get worse. What I don't love is last year was technically his worst pass rush season when you factor in pass rush win rate, pass rush productivity, and things of that nature. 32 pressures in 10 games. Not the worst thing in the world, but not something you would ever want from the number 5 overall pick that is looking for a contract extension. Which brings me to this point. What is Kayvon Thibodeaux even worth on the open market? Like if the Giants were to cut Kayvon tomorrow, or Kayvon was a unrestricted free agent this offseason, what type of deal would he net? I don't think he's worth $20 million. I don't really necessarily even think he's worth the $14.8 or $14.6 million that he's due this season. But I also think that he's much more than just a 4th-round pick back. Like, I would rather just have Kayvon on this team, hope he takes a step, continue to have elite depth on that defensive line, and if he's good, awesome. We extend him. If he's not, we let him walk in free agency. Maybe another team overpays for him, and we at least get some juice in the comp pick formula. And then if he is traded, I'm thinking much bigger than a 4th-round pick. What about him and a pick for a player in return? I'll tell you what I'm thinking coming up momentarily. First, though, I got to give a huge shout-out to our proud sponsor of today's show, and that is PrizePicks. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. It's super easy and a heck of a lot of fun to play. You create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply pick more or you pick less on the stat line that PrizePicks has set for every single player. And basketball action will be back this Thursday, and I've got my lineup ready to go. Give me the less on points, rebounds, and assists for Cade Cunningham when he takes on the New York Knicks this Thursday. And I'm actually taking a demon of 15.5 rebounds and assists for Karl-Anthony Towns. Give me the more on that. When you see that red little demon emoji, the payout is higher. So if I get both these 2 picks correct, I win 5 times my entry fee. You can roll with my picks or fade my picks. Just do it over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, Kayvon Thibodeaux. Does a trade happen? Should a trade happen? And if it does, what should that trade look like? Let's start with this. The Miami Dolphins went on a little cap cut cleaning spree early on Monday morning, and they have moved on from veteran edge rusher Bradley Chubb. They could potentially use another one. They're also cutting a bunch of veterans on this roster, like Tyreek Hill, James Daniel, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. They are moving on from extremely high-paid players that are aging, and they could potentially looking for a rebuild in Miami. So much so, it sounds like they are shopping Tua Tagovailoa. Underdog NFL kind of aggregating what Jordan Schultz said this morning, saying Tua remains a cut candidate, but the Dolphins would prefer to find a trade partner. And my guy Brett Coleman, who does awesome NFL work, says the only way the Dolphins could trade Tua is if they basically pay someone to take his contract. It's possible, but it will cost them a pick. I think we can all see the Miami Dolphins are tearing it down. They're entering a rebuild. New GM, new head coach, potentially a new quarterback, moving on from Tyreek Hill into a new era. Could they potentially look to trade Jaylen Waddle? This is a trade target that the New York Giants pursued very aggressively at the NFL trade deadline. We have learned that they sent multiple offers to the Miami Dolphins. They could not get a deal done at that time. But with new management there, a new vision, and them knowing that they are not going to be good in 2026, the first year of the rebuild will be 2027, which means the earliest they will probably compete is 2028. Do they want to keep the high-priced Jaylen Waddle on their roster? Or could they look to flip him for a premium pick and maybe even a premium player. I was all in on the Giants trading for Waddle at the NFL trade deadline. I'd be all in on the Giants trading for Jaylen Waddle right now. I think he'd be an elite wide receiver too, next to Malik Neighbors, and he would bring another type of playmaker and a big play playmaker to this Giants offense. What would it cost? How about the Giants call the Miami Dolphins saying, you look like you could use some youth on the edge, and we offer Kayvon Thibodeaux. I wish I could offer Kayvon Thibodeaux in a 2026 third-round pick, but the Giants, they do not have a third-round pick. And I don't think the Dolphins are just going to let Waddle go for cheap. I bet they're asking for a first-round pick in return, maybe a first and a day 3 pick. So what about Kayvon Thibodeaux and a 2026 second-round pick go to Miami, and the New York Giants receive Jaylen Waddle? Who do you think wins this trade? Is it the Giants, type NYG? Is it the Dolphins, type MIA? The Dolphins continue to get younger. They add a player at the edge as they replace an older guy in Bradley Chubb, and the Giants build out their wide receiver room while sacrificing a premium pick at the top of day 2 and hopefully a really good edge rusher. What do you think? I'll start with this. Malik Neighbors and Jaylen Waddle would be an elite duo. There's a lot of elite duos at the wide receiver position in this league, but I'm not sure there would be many better, if any, than Malik Neighbors and Jaylen Waddle, who is still just 27 years old. And he is a player that is going to be in his prime for at least the next handful of years. And he is someone that I think could take this Giants wide receiver core, and specifically their offense, to another level. And wide receiver remains a major area of need for the Giants. Said it 1,000 times all offseason long. You're one injury away from Malik Neighbors from being in wide receiver hell. Giants are in that same boat. Wan'Dale Robinson is a free agent. Are we really relying on Darius Slayton to produce anything next year? But the Giants also could maybe look at the round 2 pick and say, we could just find a cheap, cost-controlled rookie at the top of round 2 at the receiver spot that could be productive in year 1 and be cheap for the next 4 years. And maybe we want to keep Kayvon Thibodeaux. There is a bunch of different ways that the Giants could go about this. And I'm not absolutely saying I would do that Jaylen Waddle deal, but I'm interested. I'm intrigued by it. I'm also interested how the Giants go about building this team, as we are 3 weeks away from NFL free agency. I don't know what they should do, but they have holes to fill. Defensive tackle, corner, defensive playmakers, linebackers, safeties. They need to figure out the right side of the offensive line. They need more receiver help. How are they going to do it? I don't know. But if they trade for Jaylen Waddle, I'd be pretty pumped up about it. Make sure you are following me on social media. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @MarshallGreen_.